Flying, electrostatic power, super strength. Just some of the powers possessed by the characters of the BBC television series Heroes. But are these superpowers just an elaborated work of science fiction? Or could humans, today or in the future, potentially develop these uber abilities?
People often ask, could humans evolve some extraordinary ability they don't have now? Well, I would say yes, in principle.
We've all dreamed of being a hero and having superpowers, haven't we? Looks like me, but I'm afraid it's not. I wish it was, though. Is our love of the superhero just a passing interest? Or is this obsession here to stay? Humans have long been fascinated by the concept of a supreme being. The ancient Greeks often worshipped mythical characters such as Icarus, the excitable adventurer whose wax wings melted when he flew too close to the sun. Another notable example is Hercules, the son of Zeus, known for his extraordinary strength and immortality. This obsession has remained for centuries, with our most recognised character first appearing in comic books in 1938. DC's creation, the legendary Superman, became an icon for courage and bravery, paving the way for a flurry of comic strip idols such as Batman and Spider-Man. The films of these characters are still being made today, grossing millions of dollars in the box office. Although fictional, success of our modern-day equivalents further highlights a burning desire for society to invent a conqueror of evil and a protector of people. The media provides us with a seemingly never-ending stream of imaginary superheroes, often recycled from these earlier 20th century comic books. The TV series Heroes supplies a fresh range of characters with new and exciting super abilities, preserving our attraction for hero qualities. But how do the writers explain the science behind seemingly ordinary people developing these new features? The story begins with rather a mouthful: deoxyribonucleic acid, to be precise. Thankfully, we can shorten it to DNA. Cells in all living creatures contain this coil-like structure. DNA is essentially a recipe for you. It contains all the necessary instructions required to make your body. In other words, it's a blueprint for life. DNA packages itself and passes information from one generation to the next. It works by replicating itself, which is a bit like copying files onto a disk in order to transfer them to a new computer. According to the writers, the heroes' characters developed these abilities due to alterations in their genetic code. And these changes are caused by a phenomenon known as mutation.
Mutations are simple inherited errors in DNA, and they're very common. Within the next hour or so, you and I, and everybody else watching this program, will have 100 million or more mutations. Nearly all of them will be fixed by various biochemical mechanisms, but some of them won't, and they'll be passed on to the next generation.
Replication happens at an extraordinary rate, and although errors are common, DNA is in fact very accurate. It makes only one error in 1 billion copies. That's the same as me copying 100 large dictionaries, word for word, and only making one mistake. The undetected mistakes go on to produce mutations, changes in our genetic code, or put another way, additional ingredients to our recipe. And what becomes of these mutations over time? A rather important process called evolution. But what is it?
It is change by accumulated genetic differences that are brought about by the action of natural selection, which means that within the spectrum of variation of an organism, some variants are more successful than others.
Evolution is a term coined by the great Charles Darwin, a 19th century scientist who was the first person to suggest that we and primates have a common ancestor. And evolution is the key to our heroes' super abilities.
The theory of evolution is actually very simple. Darwin summed it up in 3 words: descent with modification. Descent, the passage of information over generations. Modification, the fact that that passage is imperfect, mistakes are made. If you inherit a gene which makes it more likely that you'll find a mate and reproduce, then that gene will get relatively more common, and so given sufficient time, new kinds of life will emerge. And that's really the theory of evolution in a nutshell.
Is our fixation with the superhero something to pass the hours? A fantasy of the masses that will never be realised? Or will we ever see a true life hero? Maybe a little superhero.
Preposterous.
So pigs might fly before we do then?
Why don't pigs have wings? Well, pigs don't have wings because they evolved from ancestors that couldn't fly because they were too heavy, and we're the same.
No flying for us then?
Flying, not in a cat in hell's chance. The skeletal and muscular modifications would be so enormous, we'd never get off the ground, we're far too heavy.
Considering mutations are continually taking place, are we likely to change in any way, or have we finished evolving?
Think of our abilities at present, they're pretty damned extraordinary. On this dank November day as the sun's going down, we're actually experiencing a nice, warm, tropical noonday sun because we're in a centrally heated building with lights in it, okay? So what we've done is to evolve superhuman abilities, and they really are superhuman, using our minds rather than our genes. We have changed dramatically, and we will change even more dramatically, but it'll happen inside our skulls and nowhere else.
We're not evolving in a physical sense, but we are evolving mentally. But intelligence is hardly what you'd call a superpower. So we're never going to fly without some sort of assistance. That's not going to stop me trying.